Manipulation is the hidden use of psychological influence to shape another person's thoughts, emotions, or behavior for a desired outcome, often without openly revealing the real intention. Influence itself is a normal part of human interaction, but manipulation becomes different when pressure, deception, guilt, fear, confusion, or emotional vulnerability are deliberately used to reduce another person's freedom of choice. The manipulator may not always appear aggressive. They can be charming, caring, generous, persuasive, or even vulnerable. Their power often comes from understanding what another person fears, wants, or desperately needs. Someone who fears rejection may be controlled through withdrawal and silence. Someone who constantly seeks approval may be influenced through praise, followed by criticism. Someone who feels responsible for everyone may be manipulated through guilt. The psychological mechanism is often simple. Identify an emotional weakness, trigger it, and create behavior that benefits the manipulator. Over time, the target may begin questioning their own judgment rather than questioning the behavior directed toward them. They may apologize constantly, explain themselves excessively, avoid saying no, or feel responsible for another person's emotions. This is where manipulation becomes especially dangerous, because the person being manipulated may believe their choices are completely voluntary, while their emotional environment has been carefully shaped to influence those choices. The manipulator may also shift blame, deny obvious behavior, exaggerate their suffering, create urgency, or present themselves as the victim whenever challenged. The goal is not always to force someone directly. Sometimes it is simply to make the other person feel that refusing is emotionally impossible. The deepest psychological damage caused by manipulation is often the gradual loss of self-trust. When your emotions are repeatedly questioned, your boundaries criticized, and your decisions reframed as selfish or unreasonable, you may begin relying on the manipulator's interpretation of reality instead of your own. You start asking whether you are too sensitive, too demanding, too distant, or somehow responsible for the other person's behavior. Eventually, maintaining peace can become more important than maintaining your identity. You may surrender boundaries, not because you agree, but because resistance feels exhausting. Breaking this pattern begins with recognizing that discomfort does not automatically mean you are wrong. Another person's disappointment is not proof that your boundary is unfair. Their anger does not automatically make their position correct. Healthy influence allows disagreement, respects consent, and accepts that another person has the right to say no. Manipulation depends on making that freedom emotionally expensive. Protecting yourself, therefore, requires awareness, boundaries, emotional independence, and attention to consistent behavior rather than isolated words or promises. You do not need to become suspicious of everyone or assume every persuasive person is manipulative. Instead, learn to notice patterns. Ask whether you feel free to disagree, whether your boundaries are respected, whether responsibility is shared, and whether affection disappears when you stop complying. Real psychological freedom begins when your decisions come from your values rather than fear, guilt, or the desperate need to keep someone else satisfied. Manipulation loses much of its power when you no longer need another person's approval to trust your own judgment.